Maya Chen always sat in the same spot every day. Third row from the back, right side of the classroom, next to the window. She liked watching the trees outside during boring lectures, but more importantly, she liked being invisible. At 17, Maya had perfected the art of blending into the background at Jefferson High School. Every morning she walked through the front doors with her head down, earbuds in, backpack heavy with textbooks that most students never even opened. Her long black hair fell like a curtain across her face, hiding behind thick-rimmed glasses that she'd worn since middle school. Maya's wardrobe was simple and practical. Oversized hoodies, dark jeans, and worn sneakers that had seen better days. Nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. The other students barely noticed her existence. In group projects, teachers had to assign her to teams because nobody ever picked her. During lunch, she sat alone at a small table near the library entrance, reading while eating sandwiches her grandmother packed for her every morning. Maya preferred it this way. Drama was exhausting, and she had bigger things to worry about. Her family had moved to this town 3 years ago when her father lost his job at the factory back home. They rented a small apartment above Mrs. Rodriguez's bakery on the old side of town. Money was tight. Maya's mother worked double shifts at the hospital as a cleaning lady, and her father drove for a delivery company, working nights and weekends. Maya knew every dollar counted, so she never asked for new clothes or complained about her secondhand textbooks. What Maya lacked in social connections, she made up for in pure intelligence. School had always been easy for her. Math problems that made other students cry were like puzzles she solved for fun. English essays that required 5 pages took her maybe an hour to write. Science concepts clicked in her brain like puzzle pieces, falling into place. Her teachers noticed, of course. Mrs. Peterson, her chemistry teacher, often stayed after class to discuss advanced concepts with Maya. Mr. Williams, who taught AP History, regularly complimented her thoughtful analysis of historical events. But Maya never raised her hand to show off. She answered when called upon, turned in perfect assignments, and kept to herself. The first semester of junior year had been going smoothly until October rolled around. That's when everything changed. The quarterly test scores were posted outside the main office on a Friday afternoon. Maya usually avoided that area because crowds made her nervous, but she needed to grab a permission slip from the office for her weekend job at the local grocery store. As she approached the bulletin board, she heard her name being mentioned. A group of students was gathered around the posted rankings, pointing and whispering. Maya's stomach dropped. She tried to walk past quickly, but she caught a glimpse of the papers on the wall. There it was, in black and white. Maya Chen, first place Advanced Chemistry. Maya Chen, first place AP History. Maya Chen, first place Advanced Mathematics. Maya Chen, first place English Literature. Her name was at the top of every single advanced class ranking. Perfect. Scores across the board. The whispers got louder as more students noticed the postings. Maya heard fragments of conversations as she hurried past. Who is Maya Chen? Never heard of her. She beat everyone in chemistry? How is that even possible? For the first time in 3 years, Maya Chen was no longer invisible. That weekend, Maya tried to forget about the test scores, but she knew things would be different on Monday. She spent her Saturday shift at the grocery store stocking shelves and helping customers, earning money to help with her family's expenses. Her supervisor, Mr. Kim, always praised her work ethic. Maya was reliable, punctual, and never complained about the long hours. Sunday evening, as she finished her homework at the kitchen table, Maya's grandmother brought her a cup of tea and sat down beside her. Her grandmother was the wisest person Maya knew, having immigrated to America 50 years ago with nothing but determination and hope. "You look worried, little one," her grandmother said in her gentle voice, mixing English with bits of their native language. Maya explained about the test scores and her fears about standing out at school. Her grandmother listened patiently, then smiled. "Being smart is not something to hide from," she said. "Your brain is a gift. Use it well, but remember, some people don't understand gifts they don't have themselves." Maya nodded, though she wasn't entirely sure what her grandmother meant. She would understand soon enough. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzly. Maya walked into Jefferson High the same way she always did, trying to be invisible. But as she moved through the hallways, she noticed something different. Students she'd never spoken to were looking at her. Some seemed curious, others impressed, but a few groups were staring with something that looked like annoyance. During first period chemistry, Mrs. Peterson announced that Maya had achieved the highest score in the school's history on the quarterly exam. The class erupted in applause, and Maya felt her face burn with embarrassment. She sank deeper into her seat, wishing she could disappear. At lunch, Maya noticed a group of seniors sitting at the popular table near the center of the cafeteria. They kept glancing in her direction and whispering among themselves. The girl in the center of the group had perfectly styled blonde hair and wore clothes that probably cost more than Maya's family spent on groceries in a month. Her name was Jessica Martinez, and she ruled the social scene at Jefferson High. Jessica was everything Maya wasn't: confident, popular, surrounded by friends, and used to being the center of attention. She dated the captain of the football team, drove a brand new car her parents bought her for her 16th birthday, and had already been accepted to several prestigious colleges. Maya had never interacted with Jessica or her friends. They existed in completely different worlds within the same school building. But now, as Maya sat alone with her peanut butter sandwich and library book, she could feel their eyes on her. After lunch, Maya walked to her locker to grab her afternoon textbooks. As she spun the combination lock, she heard footsteps approaching behind her. She turned to see Jessica Martinez standing there with two of her friends, all three of them smiling in a way that didn't reach their eyes. "So you're the famous Maya Chen," Jessica said, her voice sweet but with an edge that made Maya's stomach tighten. Maya nodded but didn't say anything. She wasn't sure what to say. "Congratulations on your test scores," Jessica continued. "That's really impressive. You must study a lot." "I guess," Maya replied quietly, closing her locker and clutching her books to her chest. "Well, good luck keeping up those grades," Jessica said with that same fake smile. "Senior year can be really challenging." The three girls walked away laughing about something Maya couldn't hear. But she had a sinking feeling that this conversation was just the beginning of something much bigger. That afternoon, Maya couldn't concentrate during her last two classes. Something about Jessica's tone had bothered her, though she couldn't put her finger on what exactly. Maybe her grandmother was right. Maybe some people didn't understand gifts they didn't have themselves. As Maya walked to her after-school job, she told herself she was overthinking things. Maybe Jessica was just being friendly. Maybe the attention from her test scores would die down in a few days, and she could go back to being invisible. She had no idea how wrong she was. Maya thought things would calm down after a few days, but she was completely wrong. Tuesday morning started normally enough. She walked through the school doors, grabbed her books from her locker, and headed to first period chemistry. But as she walked down the hallway, someone bumped into her shoulder hard enough to make her stumble. "Watch where you're going," a voice said behind her, followed by giggles. Maya turned around to see one of Jessica's friends walking away with a smirk on her face. It could have been an accident, but something about the way the girl looked back told Maya it wasn't. During chemistry class, Maya tried to focus on Mrs. Peterson's lecture about molecular structures, but she kept feeling eyes on her. When she glanced around, she noticed a few students staring at her with expressions she couldn't quite read. Some looked curious, others seemed annoyed, and a few appeared almost angry. After class, as Maya packed her books, she overheard two students talking near the door. "I can't believe she got a higher score than everyone," one of them whispered. "I studied for weeks and barely passed." "My parents are going to kill me when they see my grade," the other replied. Meanwhile, she probably didn't even try. Maya wanted to tell them that she studied every single night, that she worked hard for those grades, but she kept quiet. Confrontation wasn't her style. She gathered her things and headed to her next class, hoping the day would get better. It didn't. During lunch, Maya sat at her usual table near the library, reading while eating the sandwich her grandmother had packed. She was deep into a chapter about World War II history when she heard loud laughter from across the cafeteria. Jessica and her group were sitting at their usual spot, but they kept looking in Maya's direction. Jessica said something to her friends that made them all laugh even louder. Then she pulled out her phone and started typing. Within minutes, several students around the cafeteria were looking at their phones and then glancing at Maya. Maya's stomach twisted with anxiety, but she tried to ignore it. She finished her sandwich quickly and headed to the library to spend the rest of lunch period in peace. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Small incidents that could be explained away as accidents or coincidences. But Maya was starting to see a pattern. Someone would bump into her in the hallway. Her books would mysteriously fall off her desk during class changes. Students would whisper and point when she walked by. By Friday, things escalated. Maya was walking to her locker after third period when she found a group of students gathered around it. As she approached, they scattered, but she could see something was wrong. Someone had stuck a note to her locker that read, "Nerd Alert," in big red letters. Maya quickly pulled the note down. Her face burning with embarrassment, she looked around to see if anyone was watching, but the hallway was mostly empty now. She stuffed the note into her backpack and tried to forget about it. That weekend, Maya hoped for a break from the stress at school. She worked her usual shift, at the grocery store, stocking shelves and helping customers. The physical work was actually relaxing compared to navigating the social minefield at school. Mr. Kim, her supervisor, noticed she seemed quieter than usual. "Everything okay, Maya?" he asked while they were organizing the produce section. "Just school stuff," Maya replied, not wanting to go into details. "High school can be tough," Mr. Kim said kindly. "But remember, it's temporary. Focus on your goals, and don't let other people's opinions define you." Maya nodded, grateful for his words. She wished dealing with Jessica and her friends was as simple as stacking apples and organizing vegetables. Monday brought new challenges. Maya arrived at school to find that her locker combination wasn't working. She tried several times before realizing someone had put tape over the lock mechanism. It took her 10 minutes to clean it off, making her late for first period. During lunch, Maya overheard Jessica talking loudly at her table, making sure her voice carried across the cafeteria. "Some people think being smart makes them better than everyone else," Jessica said, not looking directly at Maya but making it clear who she was talking about. "But there's more to life than test scores, you know?" Her friends nodded in agreement, adding their own comments about how some people needed to learn their place and stop trying to show off. Maya felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her head down and continued eating. She knew engaging would only make things worse. The social media harassment started that same week. Maya didn't use social platforms much, but her few classmates who followed her started showing her screenshots of posts. Jessica and her friends were sharing memes about teachers' pets and tryhards without mentioning Maya by name, but everyone knew who they meant. One post showed a picture of an old worn backpack with the caption, "When you're too poor to afford new stuff but still think you're better than everyone." Maya recognized her backpack in the photo. Someone had taken a picture of her without her knowledge. The worst part was the comments. Students she'd never even spoken to were joining in, making jokes about Maya's clothes, her quiet personality, and her academic success. Some comments were cruel, calling her weird and stuck up. Others questioned whether she was actually smart or just good at cheating. Maya showed the screenshots to her grandmother that evening, fighting back tears. "Why are they doing this to me?" Maya asked. "I never did anything to them," her grandmother looked at the phone screen with sad eyes, then pulled Maya into a hug. "Sometimes, little one, people hurt others because they're hurting inside themselves," she said gently. "Your success makes them feel bad about themselves, so they try to make you feel small." "But I never tried to make anyone feel bad," Maya protested. "I know," her grandmother replied. "Good people rarely do, but not everyone is good and not everyone is wise enough to celebrate others' success." The harassment continued to escalate throughout the week. Maya's books were knocked from her hands multiple times in the hallway. Someone put gum in her hair during chemistry class while she was focused on an experiment. Her lunch was, accidentally, knocked over twice. The breaking point came on Thursday afternoon. Maya was walking to her locker after school when she found Jessica and two of her friends waiting for her. The hallway was mostly empty, with only a few students at the far end, near the exit. "Hey, Maya," Jessica said with that fake sweet voice. "We need to talk." Maya's heart started racing, but she tried to stay calm. "About what?" "About your attitude," Jessica replied, stepping closer. "You think you're so much better than everyone else with your perfect grades and your quiet act?" "I don't think I'm better than anyone," Maya said quietly. "Sure you don't," one of Jessica's friends chimed in. "That's why you show off in every class and make the rest of us look stupid." "I'm not trying to show off," Maya protested. "I just do my work." Jessica laughed, but it wasn't a friendly sound. "Right. Well, here's the thing. This school has a social order, and you need to learn where you fit in it. Hint. It's not at the top." The three girls walked away, leaving Maya standing alone by her locker, shaking slightly. She realized this wasn't going to stop on its own. Jessica had decided Maya was a threat to her status as the top student, and she was determined to put her back in what she considered her proper place. That night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how her life had changed so dramatically in just 2 weeks. All she had done was be herself and work hard in school. She never asked for attention or tried to make anyone else look bad, but clearly, being smart and quiet wasn't enough to protect her from people who saw her success as a personal attack on their own self-worth. Maya realized she had two choices: let Jessica and her friends continue to make her life miserable, or find a way to stand up for herself. She had no idea yet what that second option would look like. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, something inside her began to shift. The quiet girl was starting to get tired of being everyone's target. Maya woke up Friday morning with a plan. Not a plan for revenge or confrontation, but a plan to simply survive the day and make it to the weekend. She had no idea that by the end of the day, everything would change completely. The morning started badly. Maya found her locker had been vandalized again, this time with permanent marker that spelled out "loser" across the metal door. She spent 15 minutes in the bathroom trying to scrub it off with wet paper towels, only managing to smudge it slightly. She was late to first period again. During chemistry class, Maya tried to focus on the lesson about chemical reactions, but her mind kept wandering. Mrs. Peterson was explaining how certain elements, when combined under the right conditions, could create powerful reactions that seemed impossible based on their individual properties. Maya found herself thinking about how that concept applied to more than just science. At lunch, Maya decided to eat in the library instead of the cafeteria. She thought she'd be safe there, away from Jessica and her friends. She was wrong. As Maya sat at a corner table quietly eating her sandwich and reading, she heard familiar voices approaching. Jessica and her two closest friends had followed her into the library. They sat at a table nearby, speaking just loud enough for Maya to hear, but quiet enough to avoid getting in trouble with the librarian. "Some people are so pathetic," Jessica said, pulling out her phone. "They have to hide in the library just to eat lunch." "I know, right?" replied one of her friends. "Maybe if she actually tried to make friends instead of acting like she's too good for everyone." Maya kept her eyes on her book, but the words on the page blurred together. She wasn't reading anymore, just pretending to while her heart pounded in her chest. Then Jessica did something that crossed a line Maya didn't even know existed. "Hey, let me show you guys something," Jessica said, holding up her phone. "I found Maya's mom on social media." Maya's blood went cold. She looked up from her book to see Jessica showing her friend something on her phone screen. "Look at this," Jessica continued. "She works as a janitor at the hospital. And check out their apartment. It's above that old bakery on the poor side of town." The girls laughed quietly, making comments about Maya's family's financial situation. They talked about her mother's job, their small apartment, and even made jokes about Maya's secondhand clothes and old backpack. Something inside Maya snapped, not in an angry, explosive way, but in a quiet, determined way that she'd never felt before. These girls could say whatever they wanted about her, but bringing her family into it was unacceptable. Maya closed her book calmly, packed her lunch, and walked out of the library without saying a word. But instead of going to her next class, she made a different choice. She walked to the computer lab. The computer lab was usually empty during lunch period. Maya signed in with her student ID and sat down at a terminal in the back corner. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she was in her element. Computers made sense. They followed logical rules and didn't care about social hierarchies or popularity contests. Maya started with what she knew. Jessica Martinez, senior at Jefferson High School. It took her less than 5 minutes to find Jessica's social media profiles. The girl wasn't exactly careful about her privacy settings. What Maya found in those first few minutes was interesting, but not particularly useful. Pictures from parties, complaints about teachers, typical teenage social media content. But Maya was patient. She had learned from years of research projects that the most important information usually wasn't on the surface. She started digging deeper, following links and connections, checking dates and cross-referencing posts. Maya's methodical mind, the same one that made her excel in math and science, was perfectly suited for this kind of investigation. After 20 minutes, she found something interesting. Jessica had posted several pictures from a party the previous weekend, clearly showing underage drinking. The posts were time-stamped and geotagged, making it easy to verify when and where they were taken. Maya took screenshots and saved them to a folder, but she didn't stop there. Maya spent the rest of lunch period and her free study hall digging through months of social media posts. She found more party pictures, complaints about teachers that bordered on harassment, and even a few posts where Jessica bragged about cheating on tests. One post particularly caught Maya's attention. From 3 months ago, Jessica had written, "Just finished my college essay. Thank God for my mom's tutoring company. They have all the best examples to inspire my writing, LOL." Maya stared at that post for a long time. Jessica's mother ran a tutoring company that helped students with college applications. If Jessica was using essay examples from that company as inspiration for her own work, that could be a serious problem. Maya spent the weekend researching everything she could find about academic integrity policies, college admission requirements, and the consequences of various rule violations. She wasn't planning anything yet, just gathering information. Knowledge was power, and Maya was beginning to understand that she had more power than she'd realized. On Monday, Maya's investigation continued during lunch and study periods. She discovered that Jessica's tutoring company connections ran deeper than she'd initially thought. Jessica had been helping other students write their college essays for a fee. Maya found several social media conversations where Jessica discussed charging students $200 to help them write their application essays. The problem was, help seemed to mean that Jessica was essentially writing the essays herself and then selling them to multiple students. Maya found evidence of the same essay structure, similar phrases, and even identical paragraphs being used in essays by different students. Maya also discovered something else interesting. Jessica had been bragging online about her SAT scores, claiming she'd achieved them through hard work and natural intelligence. But Maya found older posts where Jessica had complained about her initial practice test scores and mentioned getting special help from her mother's connections in the testing industry. Maya cross-referenced dates and found that Jessica's dramatic score improvement had happened right after her mother's tutoring company had gained access to a database of practice questions that were remarkably similar to actual test questions. By Wednesday, Maya had compiled a comprehensive file of information. Screenshots, dates, cross-references, and connections that painted a clear picture of academic dishonesty that went far beyond typical teenage rule-bending. But Maya still wasn't sure what to do with the information. She wasn't naturally vindictive, and part of her wondered if she should just ignore everything and focus on her own life. Maybe if she kept her head down, Jessica would eventually get bored and move on to another target. That decision was made for her on Thursday afternoon. Maya was walking to her after-school job when she heard laughter behind her. She turned to see Jessica and her friends following her, phones out, clearly recording. "Look, it's Maya heading to her important job," Jessica said loud enough for the camera to pick up. "I wonder if she has to ask permission to use the bathroom at the grocery store." The girls followed Maya for 2 blocks, making comments about her clothes, her family's financial situation, and her social life. They were clearly planning to post the video online, turning Maya into a public joke for the entire school to see. When Maya finally made it to the grocery store. She was shaking with anger and humiliation. Mr. Kim noticed immediately that something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked gently. Maya told him about the harassment, the social media posts, and now the video that would probably be online by the end of the day. Mr. Kim listened patiently, then shared something that surprised her. "You know, Maya, I used to be bullied too when I was younger," he said. "I thought staying quiet and hoping it would stop was the right approach. But sometimes quiet people have to make noise to protect themselves." That evening, Maya sat at her computer at home, staring at the folder of evidence she'd collected. Jessica's video was already online with dozens of cruel comments from their classmates. Maya's humiliation was now public entertainment. Her grandmother found her there an hour later, still staring at the screen. "What troubles you, little one?" she asked. Maya showed her everything: the harassment, the video, and the evidence she'd gathered about Jessica's academic dishonesty. Her grandmother studied the information carefully, then looked at Maya with serious eyes. "You have two choices," she said. "You can let them continue to hurt you, or you can use the truth to protect yourself. But remember, once you choose to fight back, there's no going back to being invisible." Maya looked at her computer screen, then at her grandmother's wise face, and made her choice. She was done being invisible. She was done being a target. It was time for the quiet girl to make some noise. The storm was about to begin. Maya didn't sleep much that Thursday night. She kept thinking about her grandmother's words and the choice she had to make. By Friday morning, her decision was crystal clear. She wasn't going to be anyone's victim anymore. Maya arrived at school earlier than usual and went straight to the computer lab. She had work to do, and she wanted to make sure everything was perfect. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice and protecting herself from further harassment. She opened her carefully organized folder of evidence and began preparing her reports. Maya had always been detail-oriented, but now she applied that skill with laser focus. Every screenshot was labeled with dates and times. Every piece of evidence was cross-referenced and verified. Every claim was backed up with solid proof. First, she prepared a comprehensive report about Jessica's SAT situation. Maya had discovered that Jessica's mother's tutoring company had somehow obtained access to practice questions that were nearly identical to actual test questions. Jessica's score had jumped dramatically after using these materials, and she had bragged about it online without realizing what she was admitting to. Maya included screenshots of Jessica's posts about her amazing score improvement, conversations where she mentioned her mother's special connections, and evidence showing the suspicious timing of her score jump. She also found posts where Jessica had bragged to friends about knowing what questions would be on the test. The second report focused on Jessica's college essay selling scheme. Maya had discovered that Jessica was essentially running a business, charging other students $200 to write their college application essays. But it was worse than simple tutoring. Jessica was selling the same essay to multiple students, just changing names and minor details. Maya had found conversations where students discussed buying essays from Jessica, posts where Jessica bragged about her easy money from helping classmates, and, most damning of all, evidence that identical essays had been submitted to colleges by different students. Maya had spent hours cross-referencing college application deadlines with social media posts and payment discussions. The third report documented the underage drinking at parties that Jessica regularly hosted and attended. Maya had found dozens of photos and videos posted online showing clear evidence of alcohol consumption by minors. The posts were time-stamped and geotagged, making it impossible to deny when and where they occurred. Maya wasn't interested in getting anyone in trouble for typical teenage behavior, but Jessica had crossed lines by targeting Maya's family and making her life miserable. If Jessica wanted to play games with people's reputations and futures, Maya was going to show her what that really looked like. By the end of first period, Maya had 3 perfectly documented reports ready to send, but she didn't send them yet. She wanted to give Jessica one last chance to back off. During lunch, Maya did something she'd never done before. She walked directly to Jessica's table in the center of the cafeteria. The popular kids looked up in surprise as the quiet girl they'd been tormenting approached them. "Jessica, Maya said calmly. I need to talk to you privately. Jessica laughed and looked around at her friends. Oh look, the library mouse wants to talk, how cute. It's important, Maya continued, keeping her voice steady. It's about your college applications and some other things you might want to know about. Something in Maya's tone made Jessica's smile fade slightly. She looked at her friends, then back at Maya. Fine, Jessica said, standing up. Let's go. They walked to an empty classroom near the cafeteria. Maya closed the door and turned to face Jessica. I know about the SAT cheating, Maya said simply. I know about the essay selling, and I know about the parties. Jessica's face went pale, but she quickly tried to recover. I don't know what you're talking about. Maya pulled out her phone and showed Jessica some of the screenshots she'd collected. Jessica's own posts, her own words, her own admissions of wrongdoing. You've been making my life hell for weeks, Maya continued. You've attacked my family, humiliated me online, and made school a nightmare for me. I'm giving you one chance to stop all of this and leave me alone. Jessica stared at the phone screen, then looked back at Maya with a mixture of fear and anger. Are you threatening me? Jessica asked. I'm offering you a choice, Maya replied. Stop the harassment, delete the video you posted of me yesterday, and we can both move on with our lives. Or keep going, and I'll make sure the right people see this evidence. Jessica's mask of confidence was slipping. Maya could see the panic in her eyes as she realized how much trouble she could be in. You can't prove anything, Jessica said, but her voice wasn't as strong as before. Actually, I can, Maya said calmly. I have screenshots, dates, cross-references, and documented patterns. I have your own words admitting to cheating and selling essays. I have photos you posted yourself showing illegal activities. This isn't a bluff, Jessica. For a moment, Maya thought Jessica might actually back down. She saw something like fear cross the other girl's face. But then Jessica's expression hardened again. You think you're so smart, Jessica snapped, but you're forgetting something important. I'm popular and you're nobody. No one will believe you over me. Maya had hoped Jessica would make the right choice, but she wasn't surprised when she didn't. Bullies rarely backed down when confronted directly. They usually doubled down instead. Okay, Maya said simply. I gave you a chance. That afternoon, Maya went home and made her move. She didn't act in anger or rush through the process. Instead, she approached it like any other important project, methodically and thoroughly. First, she sent the SAT cheating evidence to the College Board's anonymous tip line. She included Jessica's full name, school information, test dates, and all the documentation she'd gathered. She also sent copies to the admissions offices of the 3 colleges Jessica had been accepted to, along with a detailed explanation of the evidence. Next, she reported the essay selling scheme to Jefferson High School's Academic Integrity Board and the school district's administration. Maya included evidence of the financial transactions, the duplicate essays, and Jessica's own admissions about selling academic work to other students. Finally, she sent the evidence of underage drinking to the school administration, noting that some of the parties had taken place on school grounds after school events. She also sent anonymous tips to the parents of several students who appeared in the photos, including Jessica's own parents. Maya wasn't done yet. She had one more step to take. She sent a comprehensive report to the state education department about Jessica's mother's tutoring company, including evidence that they had gained unauthorized access to testing materials and used them to give certain students unfair advantages. By Sunday evening, Maya had sent everything. She felt strangely calm about it all. She wasn't angry anymore, just determined to protect herself and make sure there were consequences for Jessica's actions. Maya spent the weekend working at the grocery store and doing homework, trying to act normal while waiting to see what would happen. Mr. Kim noticed she seemed more relaxed than she'd been in weeks. You look like you're feeling better, he observed while they restocked the produce section. I think I am, Maya replied. I finally decided to stop letting other people control my life. Monday morning arrived, and Maya walked into school with her head held higher than it had been in weeks. She wasn't invisible anymore, but she wasn't scared either. She had taken control of her situation, using the tools she was best at: research, documentation, and careful planning. The first sign that her plan was working came during second period. Maya was in AP History when Jessica was called to the principal's office over the intercom. Maya didn't react, just continued taking notes on World War II battles. By lunchtime, rumors were spreading through the school. Jessica hadn't returned to any of her classes after being called to the office. Her friends were huddled together, whispering anxiously and checking their phones constantly. Maya ate her lunch peacefully in the library, reading her book and enjoying the quiet. For the first time in weeks, no one bothered her. No one knocked her books over. No one made cruel comments. And no one followed her with cameras. The storm Maya had been preparing was finally hitting, and she was safely in the eye of it, watching everything unfold exactly as she had planned. Tuesday morning brought chaos to Jefferson High School. Maya arrived to find the hallways buzzing with whispered conversations and shocked faces. Students clustered in small groups, phones out, sharing information that spread through the school like wildfire. Maya walked to her locker calmly, listening to fragments of conversations as she passed. "Did you hear about Jessica?" one student whispered to another. "Something about her college acceptance being revoked." "I heard she might get expelled," another voice said. "Something about cheating and selling essays." "My mom got an anonymous email with photos from those parties," a junior said to her friend. "I'm grounded for a month." Maya opened her locker and organized her books for the day, trying to hide the small smile that tugged at the corners of her mouth. Everything was unfolding exactly as she had expected. During first period chemistry, Mrs. Peterson made an announcement that sent another wave of shock through the classroom. "Class, I need to inform you that there will be an investigation into academic integrity violations involving several students. If anyone has information about essay writing services or unauthorized access to testing materials, please speak with administration immediately." Maya kept her expression neutral, but she noticed several students glancing around nervously. Jessica's essay selling operation had apparently been more widespread than even Maya had realized. By lunchtime, the full scope of what was happening became clear. Maya sat in the library with her sandwich, listening to students at nearby tables discuss the developing situation. Jessica's early admission to Stanford got revoked, one senior said in hushed tones. Apparently, they found evidence that she cheated on her SATs. "I heard her mom's tutoring company is being investigated too," another student added. "Something about having access to test questions they shouldn't have had." "And did you hear about the essay thing?" a third voice chimed in. "Apparently she was selling the same essay to multiple people. Some kid at Riverside High got caught submitting the exact same essay as someone here." Maya continued reading her book, but she was listening to every word. The reports she had sent were being taken seriously by exactly the right people. Wednesday brought even more developments. Maya was walking to her locker after second period when she saw Jessica's two closest friends approaching her. They looked nervous and desperate. "Maya," one of them said, "we need to talk to you." Maya stopped and looked at them calmly. These were the same girls who had laughed at her family's financial situation and participated in weeks of harassment. "What about?" Maya asked. "It's about Jessica," the other girl replied. "She's in really serious trouble. Her college acceptance is gone. She might get expelled and her mom's business is being investigated." "I heard," Maya said simply. "Look, we know things got out of hand," the first girl continued. "We're really sorry about everything that happened. We were just following Jessica's lead, you know." Maya studied their faces. They looked genuinely scared, probably realizing that their own participation in the harassment could have consequences too. "Is there something specific you wanted to tell me?" Maya asked. "We were wondering if maybe you could, I don't know, help somehow," the second girl said hesitantly. "If you know anything about how to fix this situation?" Maya almost laughed at the irony. The same girls who had tormented her for weeks were now asking for her help. "I'm not sure what you think I could do," Maya replied. "This sounds like something Jessica needs to work out with the administration and the colleges herself." The girls exchanged worried glances and walked away, leaving Maya to continue to her next class. Thursday afternoon brought the moment Maya had been waiting for. She was in the library during study hall when someone tapped her on the shoulder. She looked up to see Jessica standing there, and Maya barely recognized her. The confident, perfectly put-together girl who had ruled the school's social scene was gone. Jessica's eyes were red and puffy from crying. Her usually perfect hair was messy, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Maya," Jessica said quietly, "can we please talk?" Maya looked around the library, noting that several other students were watching curiously. She packed up her books and followed Jessica to an empty classroom down the hall. As soon as the door closed, Jessica broke down completely. "Please," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I know you're the one who reported everything. I know you have all that evidence. Please, you have to help me fix this." Maya sat down calmly and looked at Jessica with an expression that gave nothing away. "I'm not sure what you're talking about," Maya said. "Don't play dumb with me." Jessica pleaded. "I know it was you. You're the only one smart enough to have put all of this together. You found everything, didn't you? The SAT stuff, the essays, the parties, everything." Maya remained silent, letting Jessica continue. "Look, I'm sorry, okay?" Jessica said desperately. "I'm really, really sorry about everything we did to you. The harassment, the social media posts, following you with cameras, all of it. It was wrong, and I know that now." "Why was it wrong?" Maya asked quietly. Because you didn't deserve it," Jessica stammered. "You were just being yourself, working hard in school, and we made your life hell for no good reason." "Actually, there was a reason," Maya said. "You were threatened by my academic success, so you decided to try to tear me down instead of working harder yourself." Jessica nodded miserably. "You're right. I was jealous. When I saw your test scores, I felt like you were showing off and making the rest of us look bad. But that was my problem, not yours." Maya leaned back in her chair, studying Jessica's tear-stained face. "What exactly do you want from me?" Maya asked. "I want you to tell them it was all a misunderstanding," Jessica said desperately. "Tell the colleges that the evidence was fake or taken out of context. Tell the school board that you made a mistake. Please, Maya, my entire future is ruined." Maya was quiet for a long moment, considering Jessica's words. "So let me understand this correctly," Maya finally said. "You spent weeks making my life miserable, attacking my family, humiliating me online, and trying to destroy my reputation. And now that there are consequences for your own actions, you want me to lie to protect you?" "I'll do anything," Jessica begged. "I'll be your best friend. I'll protect you from anyone who tries to bother you. I'll do your homework. I'll give you money, anything you want. Just please make this go away." Maya stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot where Jessica's expensive car was parked next to Maya's family's old Honda. "Here's the thing, Jessica," Maya said, turning back to face her. "Everything that's happening to you right now is the result of choices you made. You chose to cheat on your SATs. You chose to sell essays to other students. You chose to break rules and then brag about it online. And you chose to target me because you thought I was an easy victim." Jessica was crying harder now, but Maya continued. "You keep saying you're sorry, but you're not actually sorry for what you did to me. You're sorry that you got caught. You're sorry that there are consequences, but if you could go back and do it all again without getting caught, you would." "That's not true," Jessica protested weakly. "Yes, it is," Maya said firmly. "Because when I gave you a chance to stop the harassment on Friday, you chose to escalate instead. You had an opportunity to do the right thing, and you decided to double down on your cruelty." Maya picked up her backpack and headed toward the door. "Where are you going?" Jessica called after her. Maya paused with her hand on the doorknob. "I'm going to class," she said, "and then I'm going to continue with my life. I suggest you focus on dealing with the consequences of your choices instead of trying to find someone else to blame or fix your problems for you." "But what about my future?" Jessica asked desperately. Maya turned back one final time. "You should have thought about that before you decided to cheat your way through high school and make other people's lives miserable," she said. "Actions have Consequences, Jessica. You taught me that lesson very well over the past few weeks. Maya left Jessica crying alone in the empty classroom and walked to her next period with her head held high. She had no intention of helping Jessica escape the consequences of her actions, but she also didn't feel the need to gloat or be cruel about it. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about making sure that people who hurt others faced appropriate consequences for their choices. Maya had simply made sure that Jessica's actions caught up with her. The quiet girl had found her voice, and she had used it to protect herself and restore balance to her world. Maya Chen was no longer invisible, but that was okay. She had learned that sometimes being seen was exactly what the situation required. As she walked down the hallway, Maya realized that she felt lighter than she had in months. The weight of being everyone's target was gone, replaced by the confidence that came from standing up for herself effectively and ethically. Maya had discovered something important about herself. She wasn't just smart in academics, she was smart about life. And that was a lesson no bully could ever take away from her.